Welcome back to AI Near and Far, the podcast where we talk with creators, innovators, and business executives and curious minds who are using AI to transform the way they work. I'm Brad Moss, CEO of Enhanced AI and your host. Earlier this week, we kicked off a conversation about how AI is being used in real meaningful ways. Today, we're picking right back up where we left off, diving deeper into the ideas, tools, and experiences. In part one, we explored the foundational ideas and early experiences. Now in part two, we're diving deeper, looking at what's being built, where it's headed, and what it all means for the future. Let's jump back in. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Anika Jackson, a true powerhouse in the world of brand storytelling and marketing. Anika is the founder and CEO of Your Brand Amplified, a Los Angeles-based marketing and communications agency that helps entrepreneurs and change makers find their authentic voice and share it with the world. Anika is also an adjunct professor at USC, where she's shaping the next generation of marketing professionals, and the host of Your Brand Amplified podcast, where she interviews thought leaders about branding and business growth. What I find really interesting and inspiring about Anika's journey is how she's seamlessly blended her experience across agency work, academia, and entrepreneurship. She's built her career on a powerful belief that everyone has a story worth sharing, and she's made it her mission to help amplify those stories, especially for the underrepresented voices. When she's not teaching or running her agency, Anika is deeply involved in community work, volunteering her expertise for causes related to education and women's empowerment. She's known as a natural connector who brings people together and sparks meaningful collaborations. I'm excited to dive into all things branding, storytelling, and authentic communication today. Anika, welcome to the show. Let's push forward even more a couple years. So I got a 13-year-old son. I have a 15-year-old. I'm going to discount him for a second. My 13-year-old son, say he starts university in 5 years. What is he learning in a world of AI, and what are the tools he's using every day?
Research tools, deep research. By then, I don't think we'll have as many hallucinations and links that go to nowhere, or
Yeah, for
links to real articles that don't actually have that quote or that information in them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to change the face of research. Beyond that, using them to clean up papers and material, even to do short lessons. I found that talking to Claude for some of my coursework was much more impactful in asking, tell me about this, theory. How do I work through this data analytics problem? What's the best way to even use Tableau to show data visualization? Was much more impactful sometimes than the videos or the live sessions that I was getting with my teachers, or the books that I'm trying to read to know how to do things. I would start with the things that we're supposed to do, but then I would say, okay, I need to get deeper. So as tutors, as helpers, we're just at a really interesting point. Like, my daughter is going to be a senior in high school, and I don't think she uses any AI. She's going to neuroscience. She wants to be a researcher, but she's still going to need to know how to use these tools. Luckily, she's getting a lot through osmosis because she hears me talking about it all the time. And I'll tell her, she had to do a song for a class to finish out her junior year. And she knows how I did a song using AI technology, right? I'd written up what the prompt was and all the things, and then what kind of song I wanted it to be, and what kind of voice. So she knows, she's hearing about it, and she knows what she could do.
Yeah.
So I think even knowing what you could do is really important. I don't think that there's going to be complete replacement for professors and faculty.
Yeah.
We need to have the empathy. Some faculty are teaching, and then they're teaching live, but then they're not letting their students use AI, but then they're grading with AI. I don't do that because honestly, if I put something, I say, here's the rubric, here's the prompt, here's the paper, it's going to be giving a lot harsher grade than I am based on what I know about the student.
As a side note on that, we had another professor using our system, our Flux Prompt platform. He built an automatic grader on the platform, and he ran through several grades. And he said, you know what? It actually gave me a slightly harsher score on a couple that I gave a two just because I had my own biases toward the student. It actually gave a little bit. It was like, no, you missed. This person had an error here, here, and here. And he's like, oh, I did have an error there, and it helped him be a little less, uh,
Interesting.
yeah, a little more accurate, I'd say, in some of his grading rubric, which,
Yeah.
it is that is what it is, and if your focus is on accuracy, that the system it kind of improved that.
That that's fair. That's very fair. It's interesting because for my next classes that start next week, I'm just putting in the announcements, all the things that they should be doing that I've talked about in class that they're forgetting. For
Yeah,
some students, it's APA style. For some students is if you're missing class, you need to make sure you have two peer responses as well as your original post, and your original
mm,
post needs to be this many words,
yeah,
right? So there's a lot of things that students miss, and I feel like I gently nudged them in. But now, I mean, even just grading the last few papers and getting into the final assessments, which I'm finishing grading, I'm like, "Ah, this shouldn't be an A, right? Even a low A, this really, so that's going to be part of it is if
interesting.
you don't do this, this, and this, if you miss anything that is asked for in the assignment prompt, a B is the highest you'll get.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
it's so fascinating. It actually puts the onus on even more so on the professor. If we're getting more and more toward accuracy, it almost puts the onus on the professor and the teacher. Like, you got to make sure this assignment and what you're asking for is right and fair, right?
yeah,
Because this is going to, go down to the T of making sure it's accurate. Um,
yeah,
One other thing I hear you saying is that, in the future, education is going to be a little more customized to the person of how they want to ingest that information,
yeah,
which I actually see as I totally wholeheartedly agree. And my son, who's 13, I could see he ingests information differently than his classmates. Everyone's a little different. I have a few kids with diagnosed ADHD, and they're like, well, and they're like, is it a weakness? I'm like, no, it's a superpower sometimes. But,
yeah,
but there's certain scenarios where it is a weakness or dyslexia, various different things. It's traditionally treated as, different than the mass population. But with AI, it's almost, you can you can customize. I see a future where you can customize the ingestion of information of how they
yeah.
ingest it, learn it, and develop with their information in a unique way. And you might have your own Claude or whatever GPT or your own agent
Yes.
named Steve, and it's teaching you the way that you want that the way you ingest information the best.
As somebody with ADHD, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I talk about I can understand it better when Claude is explaining step by step
Mm.
than the book because yeah. So
Yeah, and I know like I actually grasp on concepts and foundational things really really well, but like little details and remembering facts about things, like
mm,
that's a struggle. I struggled in history class. It's like I couldn't tell you who conquered what city when, but I could tell you the principles that they used to overtake this empire when they put whatever like lead in the water and killed them all, like, or whatever it was. I could understand the principles behind it, but not the actual details and facts. And that's just how my brain works. And
yeah.
I've accepted that. But I think that's one of the powers of AI.
And you've made a really interesting point as well. The future of education is going to change a lot. Universities need to be scared, right?
Yeah.
Because most students can go do edX certifications, other certification programs. I'm going, through your agent training right now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other ways for people to get the information, get certifications that will, and then go into the workforce and start working
Yeah.
and building their skills, which
Yeah.
is what we also need, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a big argument for that, which is hopefully a benefit to people who need to reskill or upskill.
hmm and I think it's probably just, I think you're right. Universities have moved slowly traditionally. AI is just moving so swiftly; it's making everyone uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
it is, it's how certain things evolve and change. And I think there are some, I'm watching some universities just move really fast, like you said. Which university was it has a dean of AI?
I, I want to say Southern New Hampshire.
Southern New Hampshire. I mean,
So
Dean of AI. Like, I know a lot of AI committees have popped up all over the place. Some governments have. So Utah's done a pretty good job, actually. They've reached out. Their
yeah,
government, local government, has created some AI task forces and
yeah.
whatnot, which
But
I think is, yeah,
here's the other thing about universities, though. A lot of times, the departments or the schools or the colleges, they're not speaking to each other. They're still siloed.
mm, yeah,
So the fact that I'm doing stuff in Annenberg, right? I should be talking to, and there are some who are doing things cross
yeah,
school, but I should be knowing what everybody else is doing on
yeah,
campus and speaking, talking to them and like sharing resources with each other. And
yeah.
that doesn't happen.
And
Whether
you,
it's podcasting, AI, or anything else, there are podcasting studios all over campus, but we don't talk and leverage the power of all of the podcasts that we have on campus.
yeah, that's a really good. I think that's a really good insight, and that maybe that's one of my key takeaways so far. Actually, is the idea that perhaps the future of AI, of what this technology is bringing, thinking a little bit larger, is instead of like the front end tools, is this idea of streamlining this information across multiple streams and making that better. Like I could imagine in 5 years, everyone in the university having a pretty good understanding of what everyone else is doing. So using technology to better communication across
Yes.
places, because organizations. I remember I was at Amazon when I ran the third party selling marketplace
Mhm.
at Amazon. Having worked for a very big company, there's a lot of information transfer that just is not had. Right? There's no one knows. Everyone's working in silos, and I felt like that was a thing that Amazon lacked. Is that it was like, hey, here's your job, go do it, and just run in your lane. And they spun that up a lot of different ways, and the way they did it was good and empowering for like just the individual to do stuff versus like some other companies you had to get a lot of group think and a group decision.
Mm.
But even with that spinning up that way, it was a lot of no one knew what you were doing, and you had to. I had to buy beers and pizza for engineers after work just to get them to put in a couple lines of code for me because it would unlock this thing that I wanted to get done.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I think perhaps one of the big things to hopefully come, and this may my optimistic hat on, is the information transfer and communication that AI can bring. It's actually not even built for that. It's not good at that right now, but some of the things that are happening, I could see some information structures being built to better the communication across universities. And wouldn't that be nice, right? You
Will
you
that
to
happen?
know what people are doing.
Will that happen before or after we all have our own agents?
After probably.
Well, then it's just agent communicating with agent, and then we have to make sure
Yeah.
that we're actually paying attention to the knowledge transfer, right? But
That's
as
totally right.
I have a million and one ideas all the time of things I want to do. So I think about this all the time. I want to have a tool where I can like mind meld with my AI so that it can say, okay, here are the ideas, kind of like the Black Mirror episode where it's the two people who are on a dating app and they're or dating matchmaker and they're running them through all these scenarios, but we don't find out until after that those were all digital scenarios to say yes, these two people are
They
matched,
match or not.
right?
Yeah.
Could I just
That's
data dump but not have to speak it out loud or type it, just
yeah.
my mind to my AI, and then it explores all of these different ideas and runs different scenarios to tell me, yeah, you should pursue this, or you don't have time to do this right now, or it's going to cost this much money and you probably don't want to invest in that, or
Yeah.
here's how much of a team you would need, right?
Yeah.
That would be amazing because then that would help me check some things off that are in my head of like future plans that who knows if I'll ever get to.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see that coming in the next three to 5 years.
Yeah.
Technologies like that. Well, I don't want to go too long, but I do want to ask you briefly, just kind of on the marketing side. So you just have so much experience also in the marketing and the podcast side of things, and what you're doing now. You've talked a little bit about your coursework and how you teach some folks. What was kind of early days AI introduction, and then how is it currently impacting kind of both your podcast, how you're building it, or any PR side or marketing side that you're doing right now to help automate?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the programs that currently exist, it's usually based on keyword, and algorithms matching you. That doesn't give a full picture of a person, whether it's for a journalist or for a podcast host and matching with a podcast guest.
Hmm.
So there's a huge opportunity for that, which I'll get to in a minute because that's something that we're working on together. And then on the university side, it just started with, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts? Has anybody used any of, when everybody's just thinking about Chat GPT and not other things, and then it
Yeah.
evolved into, well, they're all good for different purposes. How should you use them? Which ones are ethical and on what basis? How are they getting their information? To, hey, let me tell you about the, you know, African sweatshops where people are labeling the data and the PTSD they're getting to make sure things are safe for us.
Yeah.
And that we need to keep that into consideration. But you can also join a Red Hat team and, you know, do this and this with these organizations and be part of that solution, to talking about like being approached by companies who want podcast data, right? So what are they willing to spend on my podcast to have that knowledge base
Hmm.
in their system? To, now trying out a whole bunch of different tools, telling people about them lightly, but then now basically forcing them to use them in class.
Yeah.
So that, because, I'm like, there's this tool, and this tool, there's tons more, but these are three that are easy to use
Huh?
and that are innovators right now in marketing and advertising. Then talking about articles in class, like Zuckerberg saying that AI is going to run advertising full stop pretty soon, where we will just have to put in the idea and maybe the budget, which I actually are, I think for Google right now, you can put in your creative and your budget and who you're trying to reach, and then it'll do everything else for you in terms of where you're going to find those people. So
Yeah.
I think that it will take over a lot of those processes. Um, but we still need, I believe, a human on the other side of that
Yeah.
to pull some of the levers and to just be watching
Yeah.
over and translating.
Well, how frustrating have we all been when you get put into some infinite loop where there's no AI and there might be a system and you can't get unlocked and your account's blocked out for some reason and there's false positives all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I can't tell you a number of times when I was inside Amazon and then when I was outside Amazon, it's like we blocked up all these sellers. It's like, why did we block up all these sellers? Well, because it's one thing. Well, was our criteria wrong? And then you dive in, like, yes, your
Mm.
criteria was wrong. And I've actually, from the outside, proven to many teams, and they're like, oh, yes, our criteria was wrong. You should not have been blocked. And it took me 6 months, and then, we lost X number of millions of dollars because of it. That happens all the time. This isn't just Amazon. All these big tech companies, and I can imagine it hopefully getting a little better with AI, but you can imagine how, like, how terrible it could be, those scenarios where, like an AI is in there trying to control everything, and because of that, people they try and manipulate the systems, and that's why the systems are there as well. But who knows if that's going to improve it or not? I would hope so, but perhaps.
But that's an interesting thing that I'm working through right now with Flux Prompt, right? So I had a couple of bad experiences with guests, realized I needed to just add another level of vetting. And then I've now realized, oh, like I have 4 criteria that all my guests are being vetted against. And then I get a score back from my Flex Prompt agent, and it
Awesome.
justifies the score and gives me any red flags it found, topics that would work for my audience and their expertise. So
Cool.
it's really amazing. It doesn't replace the fact that I'm still going to go research the person right before the interview. I'm going to at least look at if they fill out a form,
Yeah.
look over that information, look at their website, look at their LinkedIn, maybe listen to a podcast episode they've been on. So I'm going to take that as the first step, right? But then I also realized, oh, I need to change this one category because it's disqualifying or it's giving people a lower score in this one area where it's actually not as important, or my audience actually
Yeah.
does span the small businesses to the larger.
Hmm.
So maybe I need to retool that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That's straight to the point of, if you're the orchestrator, like AI is moving us into a place, and this is what I feel like the education needs to happen. Everyone's learning is we're not doing the work as much, the tactical work. It's moving. It's not that you don't know how. You should know. You need to know how to do the tactical work. But once you know, then it moves everyone up to be the symphony conductor, right? Like you are orchestrating your agent to do stuff, and you got to make sure you orchestrate it correctly. And I think there's probably a lot of courses we have not developed from education perspective about being these orchestrators, and perhaps that's where a lot of the future of education
I love
is
that.
we don't have the idea of we don't teach very heavily of being an orchestrator because there's only one conductor to the symphony, right? And so how many programs are there that teach you to be a conductor? But now with AI, we all are being conductors of your marketing world or the podcast world, and you're required to do what it used to take 5 people to do. Now you're doing all of it, but you're orchestrating these agents, and you got to have the right prompts to have the right kind of stuff to get exactly what you're going for.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the new knowledge work that we're moving into, at least over the next several years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what AI does for us.
100%. And you're going to have to help me fine tune when I get to my eventual doctorate, which probably won't be that far away from him because I'll be too impatient.
You are
Um,
such a hard worker.
well,
Um,
I have this curiosity,
yeah,
right? I always want to learn new things, and I'm not going to tell somebody about something unless I know how to use it, at least
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah,
And I think that's important. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I want to get, I don't think this exists, but I'm going to make it exist, a doctorate in AI first pedagogy. And so
Oh,
I'm thinking about like, what does that look like? Teaching
yeah.
teachers how to teach it, but also the student experience and what we really need to be teaching them.
Mm,
And so
mm.
thinking about the conductor,
Pedagogy, define pedagogy for
it's the
those
art
who,
of teaching.
yes. Okay. So a doctorate in the art of teaching.
Yes. Teaching a doctorate in the art of teaching AI first. So
There you go.
how do we get professors and even like K through 12 or
Hmm.
people in adult education who are helping upskill the workforce or reskill the workforce? How do we teach them to be comfortable with these tools? Teach
Yeah,
them how to teach it correct appropriately,
yeah,
right? And then arm students with knowledge, but also with confidence,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I think that's so. I love what you're going after. That's that's so groundbreaking.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I think that's really groundbreaking. I actually think that will or should be a big thing. I actually think it will be a big thing as people start recognizing that. I remember speaking to on this exact note the board of education. I was just at a inside of Utah for the state of Utah. We were at a table at a university event, and I just happened to be at a table with the board with the whole board of education. There's lots of folks there,
Happens. Yeah.
and there was myself and someone else who were both AI, and they're like, "What do we teach our K through 12 kids in this new world?" And I think there's a lot more to be thought, but at the time, one of our number one responses was clear communication, like the basics.
What do you
It's
think
like
prompt engineering is?
that's what it is. Yeah, and it's developing as people as we grow. We learn what am I feeling? How do I communicate that or properly communicate the objective of where I'm coming from? And when you're dealing with AI and AI systems, the clearer you are in your communication, the more accurate your responses are going to be. And perhaps that's maybe we'll all be really great, clear communicators in the
That
future. Maybe
one would
that's the
hope.
future. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at our level for the ICL Academy, we have our LMS, so Learning Management System, is called
Yeah.
Buzz. And we have a program in there called Busy Bee, which is
Hmm.
AI integration. So that acts as our internal LLM for the students. We provide them with prompts, but we're also creating the curriculum director, Kelly, she's creating little AI videos that teach lessons from the perspective of the student's passion. So think
Mm.
about how much more enriching an
Oh,
experience a
yeah.
student would have if they have the personalization level to go, I really love soccer. Teach me about math and physics from the soccer perspective.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it would be life changing for every student out there.
I talked to so many people. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The old Donald Duck. No, it was the Professor Duck Disney movie video. teaching about pool. And when he taught about pool, the way he taught about it, I've like all my friends growing up and still, they're like, I learned more about physics and reactions on that one Disney cartoon
Yep.
than like all my classes, because he was talking about the angles and when you hit a ball this way and here's the angles, and it was a lot of geometry that they were
Yeah.
teaching, and it was like so effective, so effective. It was like the one thing that was so effective that carried over in everyone's mind. But
Yeah.
customizing that for each kid is so powerful.
And that's the start. But then for the upper school, for the leadership seminars and passion-based seminars, we're weaving in, we're trying to keep it simple still, simple tech stack, but use Busy Bee, but also use Notebook LM or Perplexity
Hmm.
when it comes to use this tool to create your smart, measurements for the project. Use
Yeah.
this tool to help enhance your presentation skills. Um, and so we're able to then take them from being passionate and learning from their passion to how do you use these tools that will be very helpful in the outside world.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Um, okay. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time already. This has been a fascinating discussion. Maybe give me one kind of final thing that you want to leave with the audience of, perhaps the future of AI, or some final kind of insights, some hopeful insights you see about the future.
Uh, okay, I will say this, and this will be a specific example. I have a student in my class who's a football player who has maybe 1 year of eligibility. He's top in the nation. He's going to go pro next year. And he, was taught about football and whatever his degree was. He wasn't taught that he needs to have a LinkedIn profile, even if he's just a football player. He wasn't taught, he's now gotten really excited about digital media and other possibilities for him post career. That excitement only came because I made them use tools. I asked them to try things out and use critical thinking. And it's not something that we need to keep just for people who want to go into academia or research or whatever. Every student, no matter who they are or what they're going to pursue, needs to understand this. And we can make it fun and engaging and exciting and show them new possibilities every single day. But you just need to start. And so if you're a teacher listening to this, just think about a small start,
Yeah.
going beyond maybe your favorite chatbot and asking your favorite chatbot for a couple tools that could help you teach something and make it more interesting, trying those out. You have to get started now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you. I think that's really great advice, and I love that story. All right. Well, Anika, thank you so much,
of
Anika
course,
Jackson, for being on, and our AI Near and Far podcast. We're thrilled that we got your time. I know it's really precious, so thank you so much for
oh,
being on. And
I'm honored to be here.
hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
Would love to. Thank you,
All
Brad.
right. Thank you. That's it for today's episode of AI Near and Far. Big thanks to today's guests for joining us and sharing their story. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. If you prefer to watch these episodes, you can find them all on YouTube. And if you're feeling generous, please leave a quick review. I'm Brad Moss, and thanks for spending some time with us. We'll catch you next time as we continue exploring how real people are using AI to shape what's next. Until then, keep on building.